So for me and my wife, we've been married for 24 years. Next year will be our silver anniversary. So who among you here have been married for longer than that? Meron ba? Wala. Okay, so most of you are married lesser than 25, 24 years, I suppose? Okay. So, but still, there's a point where, ganyan siguro sasabihin, no, it's been a while since we had a talk. Pero sabihin mo, no, Pastor, lagi naman kami nag-uusap. But what we will find out later on, as we go along today, is anong klaseng conversations have you been having with your spouse? Another reason why we call this Hello Love again and again, in title, is I like this word hello. Hello love. Okay? Because sometimes we really have to, because of the many conversations that we have with others, okay, and many text messages that we send, many Viber groups, minsan, kayo mismo, as mag-asawa, nawawala na yung conversation nyo. Kinakausap niyo yung mga kapatid nyo, mga friends nyo, pero kayo mismo, dalawa, as a couple, nawawala na. Okay? So why don't you turn to the person, to your spouse pala. To your spouse, mamaya maling spouse, no? To your spouse. And then tell them, hello, love. Or hello, whatever your term of endearment is. Okay? Sabihin mo nga sa kanya, let's sit and talk a while. Okay? And that's what we're going to do this morning. Now, marriage can be likened to a large house with many rooms. Our hope is to make use and enjoy all the rooms so that they will serve many activities and make up shared living. But in many marriages, doors are found to be locked. They represent areas in a relationship where the couple is unable to explore together. There is, however, a master key that will open that door. It's not easy to find. We have to forge it together, and this takes time and effort. And we call that effective marital communication. So earlier, Rev Jem talked about cleaving, di ba? So cleaving builds intimacy. And there are many forms of intimacy. There's physical intimacy, touch, of course, sexuality, and there are other forms of intimacy. But today, for now, we will talk about communication. Intimacy in terms of communication. Okay? Communication is to love what blood is to life. Have you ever thought about that way? Communication is to love what blood is to life. It's impossible to have any kind of relationship unless there's communication. Tama? Okay? Understood, right? Naalala niyo pa ba when you communicated to each other and you spent hours, di ba? Talking. Sometimes you talk nonsense, pero walking, just to be able to talk to each other. Naalala niyo pa ba yung mga panahon na yun? Di ba? Okay? So, turning 25 years na kami. So, nung time na yon, ang cellphones pa, yung parang kasing laki ng mga ginagamit ng military. Naalala niyo, there was once a cellphone na ganun kalaki, yung handheld, di ba? Mga ganun pa cellphone noon. So, dati talaga, we used to call each other through landline. Uso pa mga landlines noon. Pero wala na atang party line. Huwag naman ganun. Huwag naman ganun katanda. Yung iba sila yung party line. Okay? Dati kasi hindi pa digital yung diba? May mga party lines pa. Yung biglang nag-uusap kayo, tapos biglang may maririnig kang ibang boses. Okay? Pero I believe you remember those things. So, let me ask you a couple of things. Next slide. What's the next slide? Okay. How would you define communication? What do you think the word means? So, in your next page, there's a blank sheet, no? So that blank sheet is really for this session. So I want you to write it down. What do you think the word communication means? You don't have to consult yung best friend ni Evgen, no? Si Miriam, tsaka si Webster, tsaka si Oxford, tsaka si Wikipedia. But try to define communication in your own words. Go ahead. Okay? And then try to share that with your spouse. Compare notes. How do you define communication, and how does your spouse define communication? Kaya ba? You can use Tagalog or English or Chinese. No right or wrong answer. Okay. So try to, sino sa inyo nakadefine na, nakasulat ng kahit simple definition? Kahit synonym yan. Sige, okay. So try to exchange that. Try to share that to your spouse. Exchange notes. The question then is, do you have the same understanding of communication? That's the point. Okay? Kasi pag totally different yung understanding nyo ng communication, then doon pa lang, nabe-break na yung level of communication. What do I mean? It means na, for the husband, I'm already communicating with you. For the spouse, for the wife, hindi pa. That's not communication. You understand what I'm saying? Ayan. Nagkaano na sila, nagre-react. Okay. Now, let me borrow then a definition from Norman Wright and Wes Roberts in their book, Before You Say I Do. I use this book for my premarital counseling. So before I solemnize any wedding, I would ask the couple to go through some premarital sessions with me. And I use this book as a guide. And this is how he defines communication. It is a process of sharing yourself, both verbally and non-verbally, in such a way that the other person can both accept and understand. So I'd like to highlight a few things there. One, sharing of yourself. It's not just sharing the news. Parang nawala. Meron, okay. Yung sarili ko, hindi ko narinig. Okay lang. So, walang monitor. Okay. So, sharing of yourself. It's not like sharing the news. Uy, alam mo ba na nakita mo to sa Facebook, puro ganun na lang communication natin. No. It's about yourself. And then, verbally and non-verbally. Alam naman natin yun, di ba? Later on nga, we will see the statistics of how much of what we communicate is taken and appreciated. And a lot of it is really non-verbal. Thirdly, ano pa? Accept and understand. Okay? So our goal in communicating is not just na masabi natin yung gusto natin sabihin. But the only time we have communicated well to the other person is if that person is able to accept what we say and understand. You get it? Okay? So now, what do we mean then by listening? When we are truly listening to another person, we're not thinking about what we're going to say when he stops talking. If you find yourself doing that, sige, communicate ka. Habang dili ko, wala siya na lang, kapit hindi. Diba? Habang nagsasalita ka, I'm already formulating my response.
Yung day one.
Is that proper listening? Is that proper listening? No. Diba? I don't know, we have a practicing lawyer, diba? So I don't know how you do it in court. But syempre, diba, may mga rebuttal and all that, diba? Dumaan naman tayo doon, diba, sa school, sa college, argumentation, mga ganyan. Diba, sometimes you're already formulating a rebuttal. Okay? So, pero, proper listening in marital communication is really listening. Okay? Kaya nga sa Chinese, diba, 注意听. Diba? And I like that. 注意听 means you listen intently. Okay? So think about that. We are concentrating on what is being said. It is acceptance without judgment of what is said or how it is said. Often we fail to hear the message because we don't like the message or the tone of voice. Yung diba, tone of voice natin. Yung bang, alto naman yung misis mo, pero pag nagsalita kayo, biglang nagiging soprano 2, soprano 1. Diba? Yung bass nagiging tenor. Okay, we react and miss the meaning of what is being shared. By acceptance, now let me clarify this. By acceptance, we don't mean agreeing with everything that is being said. Okay? It's not agreeing. It means understanding that the other person is saying something he feels. We will get to this point. Okay? That communication the best communication level later on we will see in marriage is really feelings. Okay, we'll get to that. Real listening means that we should be able to repeat both what the other person has said and what we thought he was feeling when he was saying it. So you're not just, anyone can repeat what the other person said. Right? For example, for me and my wife, if she would say something to me, if I'm really listening, I can always repeat what she said. So let me get back to you. So this is what you said, right? Okay. But effective communication goes beyond what she said to the point where I'm able to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how you feel. Okay? Now, before I get to the practical side of marital communication, let me cite a few verses that we can apply to a marriage setting as far as communication is concerned. I shared this in the pulpit one time, and I'm going to share with you guys as well. When you say something, say it in a nice way by wrapping your words. Okay? So wrap your words. So wrap means bepao, okay? Parang dilipao, so parang you go to SM, you go to Robinsons, you have it wrapped beautifully, right? So that is what we mean. So how do you wrap your words beautifully? Number one, let your words be wise words. Okay? Proverbs 20:15, there's gold and abundance of costly stones, but the lips of knowledge are precious jewel. So say your words in the wise, let your words be wise words. Okay? And what are wise words? Wise words are, letter R, right words. Okay? Truthful lips endure forever, but the lying tongue lasts only a moment. Okay? So the right words that are true. Right? So you're saying the truth. It's not just saying the truth. Okay? But you should also say the truth in an appropriate time. Timing is very important. Proverbs 15 says, a person finds joy in giving an apt reply, appropriate reply, and how good is a timely word. Okay? So, who among you have ever experienced saying something true, but saying it in the wrong time? Diba? Lahat naman tayo experience that. But wrong timing, patay. Kahit na gano'ng katama yung sinabi mo, mali yung timing eh. Thirdly, in a pleasant manner. Again, tama yung timing, pero you raise your voice. Or pagalit. Pleasant? No. So how would the person react? Defensive na. Ba't mo tinataasan ng boses? Okay? So you see that? By the way, as I share this, I'm not saying, me and my wife, we have these things all figured out. We are also in this journey. Okay? So we're learning as we come along. Pleasant manner. Pleasant words are honeycomb, sweet to the soul, and health to the body. So how do you wrap your words once again? Our words should be wise. Wise words are right words, spoken at the appropriate time, and in a pleasant manner. Okay, so that's our guide. So always remember, diba? Sabi nga na, think before you talk. So think. Okay, wrap my words. Help me to wrap my words well. So that when I present it to someone, they will be able to accept it and understand it. Now, components of every message. First is the actual content. Okay? Second, the tone of voice. And third, the non-verbal communication. So with the changes in the tone of voice or non-verbal component, it's possible to express many different messages using the same words or question. Tama, diba? Okay? Later we will see examples of that. So, non-verbal communication includes facial expression, body posture, and actions. Okay? So how many of you have ever experienced talking to your spouse, pero your spouse is responding to you, pero yung isang kamay niya nasa cellphone? May mga isa, nagre-react na. Gumaganon na. Diba? So what does that communicate? If they're on the cell phone, they're responding to you but they're texting. What does that communicate? Sige, pwede kong, but sige ka, yaw. Right? This is more important. Yes, I'm responding, diba? Pwede ko naman eh. Multitasking na po. Don't ever do that in a marital communication. Okay? So, researchers have suggested the following breakdown. They say content is only 7%. the tone of voice is 38%. Minsan dito nakakatalo tone of voice. Diba? Parang pagalit. Tapos sabi mo, galit ka tayo. Hindi ah! Paano mo sinabi galit ako? Hindi naman ako galit ah! Diba? And then non-verbal. Your facial expression. Unless you are a poker face, ako talaga ang problema sa akin, I'm the exact opposite of the poker face. Pagka medyo ano na ako, sasabihin ni Mrs. Poon, parang nga, diba? So, I'm the exact opposite of that. You could clearly see how I react through my face. So kaya nga nung dati, diba, yung nagpe-face mask pa tayo lahat, safe lahat eh, diba? Galit ka din. Diba? Okay. So we send confusing messages when these three components are contradicting each other. You're saying something nice, but your tone of voice is different, or your body language says otherwise, wala rin. Diba? Kasi the non-verbal takes more. Okay. So, I want you to do an activity. By the way, I asked for a longer time here because we will do some activities. Yung kanina, ang nangyari kay Rev Jem is, last night was heavy, this morning was lighter. Ako, today is lighter, tomorrow is medyo, hindi namang heavy, pero deeper stuff because tomorrow is a church service. So let this be a light one, but we will do a lot of activities. Kaya nga sabi ko, let's sit and talk a while. We'll do a lot of that. Now, take a minute and think about how you communicate non-verbally. How do you communicate non-verbally ba? Okay, think about it. How often do you catch yourself communicating non-verbally? And then, write how your fiancé communicates non-verbally. Okay? And then write what you think your non-verbal communication means to the other person, and what you think your spouse's non-verbal communication means. At again, wait. Let's just skip this pala. Let's skip this. Let's do role play na lang. Let's do role play. Okay, we will do role play, communicate husband and wife. Okay, are you with your spouse? Good. Okay, nandito ka na lang. Gusto mo? Gawin na lang natin ito mamaya. Okay, for the husband. Yan. It's Saturday. Your spouse asks you to go shop for something but you really don't want to go. Okay? What do you say? Okay, I want you to role play. Go ahead.
For the husband.
For the husband. Okay, so communicate. So the wife, try to tell it to your husband. Be natural. Yan, be natural. Teka, patay pa kayong iba pag natural, nag-aaway na. Try to be natural, but remember we're in public. Okay, sige. So try to be as natural as possible. Okay? Sige. Wives, you create your own scenario, pero parang ganito yung scenario. And then husbands, reply. Go. Okay, kayo naman wives, kayo makakagante, no? You're describing to your spouse the most exciting event of the day, or something very exciting, something for you that you want to share to your husband. Right in the middle of it, your husband yawns and says, I think I'll get a cup of coffee. Or siguro, let's say another scenario would be like, your husband reacts by shrugging you off because they're watching an NBA game, or something like that. Or they're playing their mobile game, whatever. I don't know. Kayo nakakaalam kung ano yung scenario. Try to create that scenario. Sige na. Nangyari na. Sige. Balikan niyo yung nangyari. Pero huwag kayong mag-aaway. Okay, so, role play. Kanina lang sa office namin, no, yung boss namin, ganito sinabi niya. Ang ganito lang. Reporting the facts. The third level is ideas and judgments. So here is where real communication begins to unfold. It's not yet deep, but at least you are able to share your ideas. The person is willing to step out of his confinement and risk telling some of his ideas and decisions. He's still cautious, If he senses that what you say is not being accepted, he will retreat. Scenario kanina, o yung boss may ginawa, or may sinabi, and then you share your idea or judgment. Parang, ay, ito si boss kanina, ganito ginawa niya, pero sa tingin ko mali yun eh, kasi, okay, so you share about your ideas and judgment. Level 2, this is where I want us to get to. Level 2 is feelings of emotions. At this level, the person shares how he feels about the facts, ideas, and judgments. His feelings underneath these areas are revealed. For a person to really share himself with another individual, he must move to the level of sharing his feelings. So this is feelings, nothing more than feelings. Feelings. So ibig sabihin, it's not just you report your judgment. Sa tingin ko mali yun eh. That's judgment, right? But you say how you feel. You say, you know what? I really felt hurt by what my boss did earlier. Okay? Dito nagkakatalo eh. Kasi minsan, when you start to share your feelings, tapos your spouse react by saying, hindi mo naman dapat na-feel yun eh. May mga ganun bang pagkakataon? So that's when communication shuts down. Diba? Parang ganun. For example, a wife would, this is where wives are better at, because wives are better at sharing their feelings. Tama ba hindi? Good word. I mean, that's not all. That's not across the board, but in general, okay, or probably in your case, that's okay. Pero one spouse may be more expressive of their feelings. But the problem comes when the spouse begins to make some judgments based on what the person feels. Parang, bakit naman, ba't gano'n ang feeling mo? Diba, hindi naman dapat gano'n. So when you say that, what happens? Wala na. The conversation stops. Next time, will your spouse open up? Wala. Yabo. Wala, kasi the person will feel, the moment I would say this, isip niya sa akin na ganito ko, wala na. So I'll just tell it to my friends, my kumpare, my kumare. I will not share it to my spouse na. That's why, mas alam pa ng mga kumpare, kumare yung feelings mo kaysa yung asawa mo. Are you clear? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last level is complete emotional and personal communication. All deep relationships must be based on absolute openness and honesty. This may be difficult to achieve because it involves risk, the risk of being rejected. But it is vital to grow. Okay? So there will be times when this may not be as complete as it can be, but we strive to reach level 1 as much as possible. But at least, at the very least, strive to get to level 2 where you're able to share your feelings without passing judgment. Or without thinking that you will be judged. Right? Dapat ganun eh. Diba? The person who is least to judge you should be your spouse. The one you're most intimate with is the one that you can pour out your heart to, supposedly, because you know you will not be judged by what you say. Case in point, and I always look at this though. For those of you who are familiar with the book of Psalms, alam niyo yung book of Psalms? It's right in the middle of the Bible, okay? Especially in the Old Testament. Diba? Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Psalms, or Psalms. This is where we get most of our songs. Most of our worship songs are inspired by the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms is actually parang the Jewish hymn book, okay? But it is also a Jewish prayer book. And if you look at the Psalms, it's not just about praise the Lord, praise the Lord. Actually, mas konti yung praise the Lord. Out of the 150 Psalms, mas konti yung praise the Lord. A lot of it is actually how long, Lord? Why, Lord? I feel this way, Lord. I'm down and I feel that you're doing this and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of that. And you know why the psalmist is able to do that? It's because they believe that there's nothing that should not be prayed for. Everything that you think, you could pray to God. That is where intimacy with God is. That you're able to pour to God what is deeply in your heart. Kahit na doubts yan, kahit na fears, kahit na complaints, you could actually lament to the Lord, complain to the Lord. Why? Because you understand the Lord will not judge you because He knows what's in your heart anyway. He will correct you somehow, but He will not be there to judge you and shut you down. He accepts those prayers. And then somehow when you are able to pour out, then He exchanges it with His peace and assurance. So that should be in the communication level with your spouse. Na hindi ka natatakot sabihin sa kanya kung ano yung nafe-feel. Are you getting in? Okay, so there are two types of people, two spectrums, opposites. Pero none of us naman fall into the extreme of the other, but we fall somewhere in between. There are those who are cognitive people. Persons who communicate primarily on a cognitive or thinking level. They like to talk about news, sports, stock market, money, jobs. They keep the subject of conversation as much as possible out of the emotional areas. Usually they're quite uncomfortable dealing with issues that elicit feelings. They just want to talk about, well, ganito ang pananaw ko kay BBM, ganito ang pananaw ko kay Duterte, okay, whatever. Now, there are those who are more of the leaning toward the feeling level. Meron ba that? Next slide, wala no? Wala, okay. Feeling level. Others communicate more on that level. They tire easily when you talk about facts. They would rather that you share your feelings. They feel that the atmosphere between husband and wife must be free as possible from unpleasant feelings that you're able to share. So as a couple, I want you to discuss this openly. At what level do you usually respond? Are you more of the cognitive or feeling? And at what level does your spouse usually respond? And try to rate each other. Okay? Again, be as open. For example, you could ask your spouse, love, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being emotional or feeling, 10 being cognitive, where do you think I am? How do I respond to you more? Is it more the cognitive or feeling? How do I communicate to you more? Is it on the cognitive or feeling? By the way, there's no judgment here. Na parang, puro feel pala. Okay? No good or bad. Go ahead. Try it. So are we there? Good. So to get to the final level, try to get beyond the words to the feelings. Share to each other how you feel about marriage and family. Again, the key is to openly communicate without passing judgment. Apply this principle. James 1:19. My dear brothers and sisters, take note of this. Everyone should be what? Let's read that together. Quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Okay? So parang pag-action nga yan, although hindi na kayo bata, no? Pero yung mga gina nyo, they learn action things eh. So quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. So, settle down, magpaking shuki. Okay? So again, quick to listen first, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. If you do that with your actions, quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Okay? So, you could do that with your spouse next time. Pag nag-aaway na kayo, diba? Oh. Yeah, meron na kayong weapon. Hindi. Agree together. Agree to disagree. Agree to quiet down. Okay? Yun lang pag nag-aaway. Diba sabi ni Pastor Joe? Okay, which leads me to the keys to key communication principles. I call this the vowels of communication. Okay? The vowels of communication. The vowels of communication is vowels. Ano ba yung vowels? A, E, I, O, U. A, E, O, U. Okay, so the first is A. A stands for active listening. This involves fully paying attention to your partner, showing them you're engaged, making an effort to understand their perspective. So active listening. So take note of the two terms. You're listening actively, okay? Intentionally. So this can be done by avoiding interruptions. Pay close attention to your partner's words without interrupting. let your partner finish speaking before you respond. Have you ever caught yourself, okay, para wala nang sisiyan, ikaw mismo, have you ever caught yourself interrupting your spouse's words? Hindi pa siya tapos, kino-complete mo na. Okay, sasabihin mo, alam ko na sasabihin mo eh. Okay, so don't ever do that. Avoid interruptions. Okay? Paano pag isang oras na nagsasalita pa? Yun lang, no? Avoid interruptions. Secondly, make eye contact. Okay, could you do that to your spouse now? Make eye contact. Go ahead. Di ba, nahihiya pa? Di ba? Okay. Nag-isa eye contact. Ano ba yun? May buta ka pa. This signals that you are paying attention. Making eye contact. Not with your phone. Thirdly, reflect back. Summarize what you heard to ensure understanding. By the way, after we get through these vowels, we will do some exercises again. Again, sorry, this would have to be with your spouse because that's the whole point. Okay? I know men love to talk to men about their wives. Women, not about them. When men talk to men, it's all about sports. When women talk to women, do you talk about us? Hindi naman, no? Yes! Ayun, nag-amin. Okay. Patay tayo mga husbands. Okay. Okay, now. So, again, what are those? Avoid interruptions, make eye contact, reflect back. To truly try to understand their perspective even if you don't agree. Second, AE. E is empathy. Empathy means understanding your partner's perspective even if you don't agree with it, putting yourself in their shoes. Try to see things from their point of view. Empathy. Empathize with them. Okay? Try to feel how they're feeling. So ito yung parang, okay, you come home, kasi minsan, ang perspective natin, intindihin mo naman ako. I mean, I've worked 8 hours, 9 hours sa Tiangkal, ang daming mga customer, ang daming mga, I went through traffic and all that and all. You know, tapos ganito ang punta ko sa bahay. But you're thinking about your own, right? And you expect them to understand. You should understand how I feel. I'm so tired. I'm so drained. Di ba? Yung sa kotong ko, nag-away pa kami. Mga ganyan. But you fail to understand your spouse. Probably your spouse is a working woman. And so you fail to understand she worked part-time and then she had to go home, cook, and whatever. And then you think, madali lang naman yun na. So, until you change rules. Diba? So, empathy. The I is I statements. Use I statements to express your needs and feelings without placing a blame on your partner. For example, I feel hurt when, instead of you make me feel. Nakuha niyo yung difference? You tell your spouse, you make me feel so. No, don't do that. But instead be open. I feel so when this happens in our relationship. Hindi yung, ikaw kasi, ginagawa mo ko. Okay? So, I statements. Letter O, open communication. Create a safe space. You know what? Marriage should be the safest space that you can create. Should be there. Where partners feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and feelings openly without fear of criticism. Okay? Let this be the ideal. Kasi nangyayari, parang hindi ko ma-share sa asawa ko eh. Natatakot ako eh. Kaya, sinishare ko na lang sa'yo. That is a very bad thing. Because, mas alam pa ng kumpare mo kaysa yung asawa mo. You get what I'm saying? Or mas alam pa ni kumare kaysa yung mismong asawa. Create that safe space. Lastly, uplifting. Uplift one another through your words. Regularly express appreciation for your partner's actions, qualities, and efforts. Focus on the good aspects of your relationship and each other. Uplift. And going back to sa kay Rev Jem, yung try to know their love language, and that's how you uplift them, by loving them through their love language as well. So let me share to you the benefits of focusing on communication. So, well, of course, improve understanding. Clear and honest communication can lead to a deeper understanding of each other's needs. Secondly, stronger bond. Open and honest communication can strengthen the bond between couples and foster a deeper sense of intimacy. Okay? So, when you communicate freely, syempre you're able to improve that understanding with each other. Tautin si Ani pala. Now I know why you react that way. Now I understand, and I would adjust myself. And this, of course, leads to stronger bond and then reduce conflict. Okay? That's self-explanatory. The reason why a lot of conflicts happen is because of that poor communication that you have, or lack of it. Increase marital satisfaction. Okay? By the way, sabi kanina ni Rev Jem, yung cliche na happy wife, happy life. But someone made that more complete. He said, happy spouse, happy house. Okay? So meaning, it works both ways. Okay? It should work both ways. Happy spouse, happy house. Next, increase intimacy. Communicating about feelings and desires can increase intimacy in a relationship. So these are the activities we're going to do the next 30 minutes. Let's try it. The first one is active listening. I think we still have time to do something that is medyo but I hope this is what I pray we will be able to achieve through this. So far, clear naman? Okay, so let's try to apply it. Letter A, let's try the A exercise. What's the A? Active listening. Okay. Okay. Active listening. The purpose of active listening is to ensure that both partners feel safe expressing their feelings, they feel heard and understood. So how to do it? So again, for this one, if you want to maximize the use of space, pwede rin. Kasi pag sobrang kayong tabi to each other, nagkakarinigan, baka yung haisel. So that's okay. You can actually move to the side. Okay? Okay lang. Okay. This is what you do. One person speaks for 3 to 5 minutes about the topic. The spouse does not interrupt or jump to conclusions. Instead, reflects to the speaker what they heard. So for example, try to come up with any point of conversation. Kung gusto yung pag-usapan. You want to talk about your child? Okay. You want to talk about a recent event? That's okay. So try to come up with ano. So yun muna. Try to decide now as a couple. Ano pag-usapan natin?
Anong point sa gravity mawawala ng weight ng akin? Bakit? Baka naman. Ano? What's your point?
Okay. Now, so you decide who goes first. You decide amongst yourself. Yan. So, yan, pwede yan. You could go to the other place. Huwag lang sa kwarto, baka hindi na kayo bumalik. Dito lang. Okay? So, again, the guideline muna. Sandali, nag-uusap na kayo. Guideline. Person A muna speaks for 3 to 5 minutes. The listener, the husband or wife, listens, no interruption. Okay, reflects. And then, you reflect back. You tell your spouse, tama ba ako? What I hear you say is, okay, and then you can ask clarifying questions. Can you tell me more about, okay? And then, you can switch roles and repeat the process. Okay, so I'll give you about 10 minutes for this. So before I ask her to share, I'd like to throw this question first. What was it like to listen without interrupting? Did you try that? Listen without interrupting. Nahihirapan ba kayo? Para bang withdrawal syndrome? Parang, sample, kunwari nagsasalita siya, tas parang, Ayun. Okay? So how was it? Was it better? Okay? Ayan, okay. Okay. So, here was our scenario. Our scenario decided to talk about our daughter's upcoming future studies. Further, our college studies. Yun. So, we talked about our fear. I started by talking about my fears about our daughter's college studies in a few months' time. Okay, so she plans to most probably go to Ateneo for her studies. By the grace of God, we got a director's list for her, but not the merit. So if you know Ateneo, director's list is kind of like 100,000 off. The merit is like full scholarship with allowance. Okay. So, but grabe na yun. Full merit scholars like only top 50 applicants nationwide. Okay, and then the director's list, by the grace of God na rin yun, top 150. Yun. So, she got into that. But, of course, if you know Ateneo, medyo mahal pa rin. Okay, so, so I shared with her my fears of the upcoming. Okay, and then, ayun, ikaw naman.
Before I share my answer, before when we were talking, makikita mo talaga yung fear. And I keep on saying, dapat hindi ganun eh. I'm already parang teaching him and interrupting. No, not like that. But when we were talking right now,
Ayun. It was the same topic a few weeks back. Okay, it was the same topic as I told you, we are normal husband and wife. There are times we get to raise our voices. Okay? There are times when the conversation becomes heated. So it was at that time when naging heated noong time na yun. Same topic, take note, same topic. But today it was different. We were calmer. Okay, we were calmer and we were able to listen. So when we stopped and listened and said, withhold judgment, then everything was calm. We were parang, you have to have the same mindset na we're going to talk calmly without passing judgment. We will try to actively listen and then reflect back. Nakuha? So did you have the same experience? Who among you experienced something like that? Na it was, what you talked about was probably something you talked about na before, but this time it was in a more positive way. Meron ba? Okay, some of you.
example lang ulit ha. Kasi when he is talking, I would interrupt. Sabi ko sa'yo, huwag ka nga takot na takot eh. Huwag ka masyado matakot. Kasi yun eh. So my voice is raising now. But this time, I said, because I saw that the Lord already moved in his heart, huwag na tayo matakot. It means proactiveness. I already explained to him before, prior to this talk. Pero hindi siya, ayun na, girls, moms, hindi nakikinig. May ganun din kami. Pero this time, he is looking at my eyes. We were talking through our eyes and through our feelings. And then he was listening. I appreciate that he listened to me. Hindi na siya takot. Or may fear pa rin kasi kaya yun ang topic namin eh. Pero kita mo na na-appreciate na niya yun, suggestion natin as wife.
Okay? Yeah. Tapos, there was also a time when she shared her own experience sa family nila. So, I took the opportunity to clarify. Okay, so you experienced that pala when you were studying. So, how did you cope? So, na-add yung topic namin. And then I asked her, so tayo, how do you think we should cope as parents? Kasi we cannot expect that from our daughter the way you. So meron kaming back and throw suggestions to each other. Nakuha ba? Agree? Okay? So who among you would say you had a positive experience talking right now? Raise your hand. Okay? So who among you would say, after this, magkaaway na kami? Huwag naman. Thank you.
Add ko lang kasi this is also part of the marriage encounter. That's why what he's doing right now is partially marriage encounter.
Okay. Yan. Yan, tama na. Okay? So, yung marriage encounter, what my wife was saying, is really what I was saying before. Yun yung talagang, actually, yung marriage encounter, one night lang yun. Pero, kasi, mahirap 3 days, 2 nights without your kids, diba? So, we experienced that one night. Meron na bang dyan eh? Wala, that time kasi tama, wala pa. So siguro kaya kami naka-attend doon, no? But if meron, then we would have left her to either ama or guama, mga ganon, di ba? So just for one night, because the whole point is kayo lang, from start to finish, and it was so beautiful. Kasi mas maraming, tayo medyo limited yung time eh, di ba? But back then, it's all about communicating. So what I'm sharing to you partly is what we experienced there. Okay? So, active listening. Yeah, meron pa. The next activity is the I statement. Yeah, let's try this. The purpose of the I statement is to allow you both to express your feelings. So, I want you to complete this sentence. I feel glad when you feel your emotion, you share it. So, remember, it's not a judgment, it should be emotion. Kasi sometimes, hindi tayo sanay mag-share ng emotions eh. Ano ba yung mga emotions? Example of words that convey emotions. I feel, go. Ha? Hurt, I feel angry, okay. Ano pa? I feel sad. Scared. Okay, these are adjectives, these are words that describe feelings. Okay, hindi yung ano ba? Teka, sa back of my mind. Basta, it's not like you're sharing judgment na binabara mo ko or whatever. No, you share what you feel. For example, I feel upset when you change your plans at the last minute. That's a situation and you don't tell me. And then I need you to, this is my need. In light of what I feel, I need you to consult me next time. Or I feel upset when you come home without even greeting me. Parang you go straight to the TV, ganyan. And then I need you to affirm that I'm here as part of that. Nakuha nyo? Okay, so ito yung critical. Huwag kayong magagalit sa sinishare na feelings. Promise? Because it's a feeling. Can you judge? Ganito yun eh. That's what we learned sa marital counseling. You don't judge your spouse's feelings. You don't say, dapat hindi ka nakakaramdam ng ganyan ah. No. Okay, no. Kasi that's how he feels. You cannot judge your spouse by what he feels. Diba? Parang, why do you feel that way? No. You can say, why do you think that way if they're expressing thought? Diba? Pero when they're expressing feeling, you can say, why do you feel that way? Hindi pwede. So just share it, and then the other spouse would say, did I get it right? Na pag ginawa ko pala to, you felt. And then probably it's time for you to say, sorry. Now, it may be something positive, that's okay. So, but based on the sentence, medyo negative yung lalabas, no? Okay, pero pagka you feel that it might, when you're ganito try to screen also. Kasi we don't have much time eh. Try to think of a feeling na hindi naman sobrang deep-seated, na baka pag shinare mo ngayon, World War III na kayo. Hindi. Parang something that you can resolve in 2-3 minutes. Okay? Are you here? Okay? Okay tayo Then pag nagkaaway-away kayo, Rev Jem! Nasaan ba si Rev Jem? Parang nawala si Rev Jem. Sige. Ayan. Okay, do it for 2 minutes. Share each other's feelings. Wives na lang first. Ayan. Ladies first. And then you reflect back, and then opposite. Go. So, just out of the blue, what are some of the words that came out? What were the feelings that came out? Meron ba? Some feelings? Stress? Okay. Pero were you able to share and the other person was able to accept? Meron? Okay. Other feelings? Happy? happy. Okay, good. I feel happy when you... So, pwede rin naman positive eh. Sa amin, relieved. Diba? Relieved. Okay, anything else? Any other adjectives? Yes, on this table, meron ba? Feeling.
Anong feeling?
What were the...
Anong feeling daw yung
what were the
ano?
feelings that were shared? What were the adjectives?
Hurt.
Respected and heard. Pwede hurt, then heard. I feel heard. Respected. Ano pa? Okay. Meron pa? This side?
Feel like dying.
Dito, wala? Way over there?
Wala nang bata.
Any feelings? Okay lang? Ano? Sige. Let's end on a very positive note. The last activity is, ano yung letter U? Nalaman niyo yung U, ano yun? So try to review natin. A is what? Active listening. E is empathy. Put yourself in their shoes. I is I statements. O is open communication. U is what? Uplifting. So let's try to uplift one another. Okay? The exercise, it reinforces your emotional connection and appreciation. How to do it? Say 2 to 3 things that you appreciate about your partner. For instance, I appreciate how supportive you've been while I'm feeling stressed at work this week. Right? And then take turns. So one appreciation, one. If you can make 3 good, okay, the more the merrier. So wala nang feedback to, kasi appreciate lang naman eh. So I appreciate you for, I appreciate how you, okay, did you do that? And then they're coming na. Go. Okay, sige. You can continue that later. How does it feel to hear words of appreciation? For some of you, it's been a while. Okay ba? I know that there are some of us who are not as expressive. Pero let's get rid of that. You know, we're Asians, we're Chinese, we're not expressive type of thingy, right? I'm an introvert. This is not about personality. This is about something that if we are serious about our relationship, we will do it. Diba? Oo nga, sabihin natin, actions speak louder than words. But there are times when we need to say words. Are you here? Okay? So, and also, take note that this is not something done overnight. You have to continue this. Okay? And always remember these 5 vowels. Always apply these 5 vowels to your communication as well. Okay? And warning nga lang daw eh. If you continue on with this in your relationship, sabi nila, usually after couples retreats, nagkaka-baby boom. Ayun. Ay, may nag-yes. Parang may gusto. Okay.
Tawag ka mo, parang ano ah. May ibig sabihin.
Ayun. Gusto nyo magdagdag ng estudyante sa Jubilee. Diba? Pwede naman. If there's another nursery. Okay, sige. Okay, why don't we pray? Oh, by the way, mamaya pa natin gagawin, no? Mamaya na lang sa dito yung ganon. Okay. Pero ngayon pa lang, I would like to let you in on something. Tonight, kasi I want you to think about it na ngayon. Tonight, you're going to write, again, probably for some of you, it's been a long time since you did it, or it will be your first time. I want you to write a love letter to your spouse. Okay, we will give you a beautiful stationery. Wow, hindi na uso yun, diba, dati? A beautiful stationery where you would write your spouse a love letter. Okay? Pero gagawin nyo pa yun tonight. So later on, family time pa talaga tayo. Okay? So just want you to think about, ngayon pa lang, think about what you want to say. Try to court them again. Imagine you're courting them for the first time. Okay? Pursuing them again.